It was so good.
Oh, well, we are streaming. Good morning, everyone. Oh my goodness. So we'll just make sure that we're all connected. And I'm very, very excited to be introducing this next beautiful human to you all. So I love Fridays. Fridays are the day where I just get to celebrate everyone else. It actually is a load off for me because I'm like, oh, I just get to like connect in with the epic people in my community and just let other people know how amazing they are. And one of these people is the beautiful Wendy Scott. Wendy and I met in Bali maybe 4 years ago. And we've worked together quite a bit over the past several years, right? And Wendy has an amazing story. So I'm going to get her to share her story with you. One of the things I love about Wendy, young and vibrant as she is, she's out there making a difference. She's got this huge heart. She's always learning, always evolving, always sharing, always connecting, and always really helping people. She comes from a deep place of service to help people really get unstuck with their own trauma that manifests in so many different ways in their body and in their minds and in their beings. And so it is my great pleasure to share and shine a light on Wendy today. Hi, Wendy.
Hi, thank you so much for those beautiful words. It was lovely to hear. Yes.
Hi,
And we
Wendy.
have been together for a long time since Bali. It's been, that was amazing couple of weeks, and we're still together.
Isn't that so cool? I was
Yes,
just, because we did it was the exponential entrepreneur, and we were on a team together
we were.
and we won.
We
We
did
beat all
win.
of us
Yeah.
because my team was losing.
It was so good. It was good fun. And we won. Yes.
We won. Can you remember what we did?
No, I can't actually, but I know it was really good. It was really good, but I can't remember what it was about. I learned so much that I can't remember.
Yeah. So it's part of Roger Hamilton's Entrepreneurs Institute event about how to really take an idea and 10x it. Because if you improve an idea by 10%, all you have to really do is tweak, right? It's that whole moonshot thinking. If you take an idea and you want, it's like if you take a car and you want it to go 10% faster, you might tweak the engine or whatever else. If you take a business and you want it to go 10% better, you might tweak something within it. But if you want to 10x a business, if you want to 10x a car, you've got to start from scratch and revisit how you think about it. And
Totally.
that's what that was about.
Yeah, yeah. It was good. It was great fun. And I met you, and that helped me so much in my business. You know, my beautiful images and the different wording. I still use the same logo. I love the logo. So it's yes, it's beautiful. So it's still going after all these years.
Oh, you should do.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
time, just like you. So Rachel is here and she says hi. Jenna's here and she says hi. Rachel says that she's super excited to hear your wisdom.
Ah.
And you don't appreciate your wisdom the way that we do. So I loved reading some of your story. I'd love to hear a little bit more, and I'm sure Rachel and some of the others would love to hear a little bit more about. You were saying that in your 40s there were some things happening and you had a big life shift. Would you feel seem like what was happening for you, and what was the trigger that brought you into this part of your journey?
I in my early 40s, when a lot of us have a wake up call, and my wake up call was I was getting sick, and I got to the point I was about to die, and they told me that, and I thought, oh well, I either die or I tried to make some change. So I went looking for books, and the one book that jumped off the shelf was Louise Hay's You Can Heal Your Life. Literally changed my life. So I looked all up that, and yeah, so my life really changed from that book. And I promised myself one day I was going to meet her, and I actually did.
Did
So
you?
I went on one of her cruises and I met her, and she changed my life from the start. I look at the book now and I think, what? But it was a very much start. And that's where I did have a breakdown, but I certainly had one hell of a breakthrough. So my life changed from that day. Yeah, absolutely. So when you're told you're not going to make it, that's when you either decide you got a decision to make.
It's
So that's where I am today.
it's the same thing, right? It's like, if you're told that this is really it, you need to make a decision. It's not like, oh, tweak your diet. It's like you really need to start from scratch.
Yes, literally.
It says good morning. Well, I have a little secret to tell you about Louise Hayes, which you don't know because not many people do, is that Louise Hayes, when I was a youngster, like when my mother never took me to the doctor, I have a very alternative mother. And so throughout my childhood, particularly my teens, I never went to a doctor. I went to a kinesiologist if ever I was unwell. And my mother, as a teenager, gave me the book, Louise Hayes, You Can Heal Your Life.
Oh.
And it was when I left home the day after I turned 21, it was the only book I took with me. And I landed in Canada and I got the Louise Hayes heart tattooed on my body, which no one can see anymore, but it's like, it was probably that at that time of my life, it had been the most transformational book.
Yeah, amazing, isn't it? It's just how she changed so many people's lives, and that was my goal. If she can do it, damn it, I can too. Yeah.
You totally can. So tell me,
absolutely.
From that period, like you were so unwell, what were some of the things that you started to look at? How did you start to explore this change?
My relationship, absolutely. What I was doing, I was farming, and that was not my life. Working on cows and 7, 8, it does not make sense to me. And here I've gone from a meat eater to a totally vegetarian. And I used to love fishing, and that used to be my calming time. Now I can't even look at a fish. I think it's cruel to catch a fish. I've gone from there to completely here. So it's and it wasn't my life, it was my husband's life. And and that's fine. We just went our separate ways, and I started on this new journey, and everything changed. I can't even remember almost back then. It's just, I'm so different, completely different.
I'd love to see a photo of who you were then. I'd love that. And also, that's such an interesting thing for so many women. It wasn't my life, it was my husband's life.
Yeah. And in those days, you kind of married into the husband's life. These days you have choices, a lot more choices. And you had to be married by a certain age, otherwise you're too old, you're sitting on a shelf and blah, 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 blah. I never had a life. I just, that's what you did, you got married. Nowadays, and when I was free, I just didn't stop. I traveled the world, backpacked across America twice by myself for 3 months. Sorry?
What age did you do that?
I was, getting up there.
Getting up
there. I was in my 50s, early 50s. Yeah, start of 50 something. Yeah. So met some beautiful people, and then I actually ended up in India, can you believe? So it's, and I lived there for a long time. So it was, totally different from farming, completely. Living in farming straight through to living in an ashram.
Spending time in an ashram has been one of my goals for a really long time. I'd love to know if someone's considering that process. There's two things for me. It's like, one, I so want to go and spend time in an ashram. Two is like, I don't have the time to spend time in an ashram. And there's this sense of unknowing, even though like I'm a reasonably aware human. I'd love for you to share, like if someone's considering taking some time to really revisit, some core principles in their lives, how would an ashram be a place to facilitate that change for them?
You have to first know why you want to do it. Is it running away, or is it to learn, or is it to, you've got to really look deep. Why? The big why, because it's a totally different life, completely different life, and it's not for everybody. So is it just to run away? And a lot of people do that just to run away. So looking deep down, what's yours?
It would be to learn. Yeah. Because
I think it's what do you want to learn?
I have been on the cusp of my yoga teacher training journey for well over 10 years, right? And I've booked to go to India and do my yoga teacher training, and then something happens. And then I was going to do it in Bali, but I didn't want to do it in Bali. I wanted to do it in India, and then something happens. Now I'm going to Costa Rica, and there's a lot of amazing like yoga spaces and learning. So I'm like, maybe I'll do my yoga teacher training in Costa Rica. But Yeah, it's always been on the cusp of doing my YTT. But the flip side of doing my YTT is because I come from a background of like health and well-being and fitness. Yoga is my blue. It's the place that brings me into self. I call it yoga stoned. When I go and I participate in yoga, it's the only thing that completely turns off my mind and allows me to be present in my body in a way that nothing else ever does. Yeah. And so I don't want to turn this thing that is my sacred space, the only space where everything else just disappears, into work.
Beautiful. Well, you just described an ashram.
Ah, stop it.
Yes, it is a very beautiful space, but it is hard work and it's not for everybody. And a lot of the time you feel like you want to run because it's such high energy. It pushes every button. And yeah, so it's hard work, but it's the most rewarding experience to ever have. Yes, I recommend a lot of people, but you've got to really look at why. Mm-hmm. And if it's just running away, sorry, it doesn't work. And a lot of people do that to run away.
Yeah.
But it's very peaceful, it's very calming, but it's very pushes all your buttons.
Mm-hmm. I have a beautiful friend who I met in Croatia when I was at Mind Valley, and she spent the whole of COVID in an ashram. Literally all of last year, she's in an ashram. She's popped out the other end. Oh my God. Completely different human. She is radiant, vibrant, joyful. She's launched a brand new business. She's like literally half the size, half the human she was before. She is just like, wow. Yeah. She's taking her life around. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
I'd like to come out looking like that, vibrant and connected and just free-spirited.
And she didn't do that easy. It's you know, it's you drag a lot of chains behind you going in there, and then it's a matter of just dropping, and So while I was in there, I went for weeks without eating. You know, you can live without eating. There's lots of different ways you can do it, just living on liquids and things like that. So there's many different ways of dropping habits, patterns, all sorts of things in the body, and that's what you can go through in an ashram.
Let's talk about like how we help to change things in the body, because I know that a lot of the work that you do while you work, you're a body worker, right? You work with the body. But I know that we have an aligned philosophy like this, where like the body is just a manifestation of like a bunch of other things that are going on the inside. And so while people come to you for physical trauma, quite often you're helping them with their emotional challenges at the time. Right?
I'm really a coach, you know, holistic coach underneath helping people. So our body is...
Is that what you are?
Yes.
Wendy's a holistic coach, everyone.
So I work with the body. Now, the body is the tree. Everything gets stored in the trunk, which is your spine. And when you're feeling the spine, it tells you everything. I can look at a spine, feel a spine, and I can tell them exactly what's happened from dot to dot. Everything just lives in there. So if we're having any problems with our fingers or our arms or our legs, it's all coming back to the spine. That is the trunk of the tree. And then all the branches go out in the nervous system. Uh-huh. So, yeah, and it's a whole story in there. I love when people lay down and I can just see the whole, everything that's gone on.
I love that. And I want to dig into that a little bit, because obviously like a more modern medicine sort of way of looking at is like chiropractic, right? When, you know, people go to chiropractor because they're like, you know, I've got some bone stuff going on, or I've got spine, skeletal stuff going on. And, you know, we've been indoctrinated in the space where we know that if there's something going on in the spine, that, you know, a chiropractor can help, and it will obviously have a knock-on effect with all these other things. What's difference for you with the spinal flow work that you do versus, say, a chiropractor?
So I'm a massage therapist and a Bowen therapist. So I could massage all day, every day, and I've done that for 30 years and get nowhere. It just makes people feel good and it helps the muscles. And I'm also a Bowen therapist, which is great to release muscles quicker than a massage. But then when spinal flow came along, I knew everything in our whole life is in the nervous system completely. We can be going along in life when we're younger, and we see a tiger in our path and we go, yeah, like this. And we think our bones are at it. It's a fear stroke. It's what we call a fear stroke. We think the bones are gone. It's actually a nervous thing in the nerves. It's just boom in the nervous system. That's what it is. So spinal flow is releasing those fear strokes that we've had through our life. So it's yeah, it just releases them, and you can feel it in the spine. You can feel, well, that one's been there a long time, because the nervous system's got this blockage, and up goes the spine like this, and it gets really, really hard, and you think, wow, that's been there a long time. So once you awaken the nervous system, because there's we have 33 access points in the body, some around the head, and then comes down the spine, and then goes down into the lower part. So when we touch an access point at one end and that end, the messages start going up the spine. Hey, we haven't spoken for a while, and we've got some rubbish in here. I think we should clean this up. And the brain says, well, I haven't spoken to you for a while. We have got these blockages. Let's start moving them out. So how we do that is waking up the access points, but then watching the breath, watching the Kundalini, watching your God force, life force coming up. And I can see how far it goes. With women, it doesn't get very far. It goes up and then comes down, comes up and then goes down. Then when the nervous system gets activated, it starts to push up, push up. And I call it just rust. We can call it whatever we like, but I call it rust in the spine, which is all our stories. And once it starts pushing up, it comes out, and it will come out in many different ways out of the body, and your life changes. And it's just the fear strokes we've got, and I call them tigers that jump out and grab you, you know, and then you walk around wondering where that tiger's going to come next. We don't have to go into any stories. We don't have to, oh, my mother did this, oh, my dad did that. No, it's actually in the spine. And that's where the whole story is. And this life force just pushes, and we're 80% water. So, you know, when you get into this flow, and we train the body just to be in this flow, and it remembers, absolutely remembers. And then, oh, we've got a blockage. Let's push it through. So simple.
So simple. It makes the most amount of sense, because if I think about the skeletal system, and I think about us as babies. At babies, we were perfect squatters, right? We could, like, you know, crouch, squat, move. We had like that full reptilian, mammalian type of movement pattern, right? And then obviously, as we've gotten older, we've gotten stuck, and all of a sudden, like, you know, I can't move my leg, and, you know, all of these things happen. So, and it makes sense to me that there are these blockages, right? And so if we can, like, create that flow through the joints and through the spine, then obviously it allows everything to move better. What does that mean for someone who's, say, got some musculoskeletal issues where there's, like, you know, postural issues or like some heavy blockage? Can you change?
Absolutely. It's not a one visit trip. You've got to do it a few times and get into the flow. And some people don't like it because they're really pushing on, you know, we bringing up habits and patterns and different traumas that's happened through our life. So, you know, some people, it's just, I'm going to keep this. And that's fine. Some people, then they just get it out of here. So it happens slowly. And it works really. And then they stand up and they think, oh, I'm a bit different. Yeah. I know it's a tailbone, you know, like, when you've been the dogs, you see a dog and it's like this, the tailbone's tucked under, all this. It's actually copped a fair bit in life, and we get like that too. And then when the body starts to feel, and then we start to bring it around here. You used to see those older ladies, it's mostly the old women, got really these big humps and they put themselves right around here. Their tailbone tucks right under, and then they're protecting their heart. That's all this is. And they're in this flight mode. Literally. And then when they come out of that and they're feeling a bit more safer, actually everything just starts to relax. And I can feel with the tailbone's tucked right in. Once you start this, the tailbone actually comes back out again. It's amazing. It just, and you can hear these little crunch. Oh, all right then. It's feeling safe, literally feeling safe. So people stand up and think, my God, why am I taller? You know, that's the first thing they all say.
I'm like, I need a treatment before I go away. Seriously, spinal flow is phenomenal. So gentle with so much impact. So
she's very gentle. Yes. Yeah.
I love it. And so then in this space, because obviously, how do you help more people in this space? Is spinal flow something that someone would come to you and you would, you know, it's a hands-on treatment?
It is a hands-on treatment, but after a few treatments, I actually give them some homework. And I've got a little ebook that gives them all the moves so that they can keep going with their flow. And it works really, really well. Okay. Yeah, so if they get a bit stuck or something, I can't see Wendy today, they just go in and do their own little homework, and it just gets the whole body just into the flow. Yeah, it's really, really powerful. So, but I love working in groups. That's my favorite, is working, because the energy is so high that you can actually work in a group. And this one might pop, that one might pop. It just, you know, it's just really nice to see a whole group and they're all flowing, and it just raises the whole energy so we can get right through cleaning out all those blockages in the spine, or that rust, as I call it.
Rust. Devastating. 4 treatments and I've cleared most of my spine. I had an epidural spot for over 30 years with traumatic birthing, and it's cleared. It's cool. So cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not doing anything. I'm just accessing their access points. Then their body does the work. Their body, trusting the body knows exactly how to heal. And that's what it does.
Because there's this space of, you know, the integration of our physical being, the body, right? Our emotional being, the essence of who we are, and obviously our mental being. And there's like all these parts of us, you know, very commercialized body, mind, spirit type of scenario. But that's really true. We have a physical being and there's a physical intelligence within us, right? We have an emotional being. There's an emotional intelligence most of the time within us, right? And then we have this mental being that's got, you know, again, some mental intelligence, right? And so in this space, this empowering the physical intelligence to take ownership of this space, because what happens is we think we're our minds, but we're actually not, right? Our mind's actually a part of this whole space, but the mind is trying to fix everything, which I think keeps us in pain and keeps us stuck.
Completely. Absolutely. Yeah. And then we take pills, we take alcohol, we take food. We don't need any of that. We just need a bit of spinal flow and start pushing out. No, that's all we need. You know, the mind controls too much. And it's just dropping that ego as much as we can and just finding our true self. And our true self is in the spine and in the flow. That's it. Yeah, it's very simple, very easy. And it's finding your true self. Because when you've got a blockage there, you're living from that blockage. You're living from your statement that you tell yourself. And we all have these silly statements. When we see that tiger coming at us and we go into the fear stroke, we tattle with this little statement. I'm not good enough. I've done something. I've been, all these statements. Then we live our whole life from that statement.
So darn cool.
And that statement lives in the spine. And I can see it, how long it's been there. Well, wow, she must have got that when she was 3, 4, 5, you know. Yeah. And then you have stories that go on top of it, stories. But it's still just the one tiger.
And in working through that, does that change things like posture? So people who have like, you know, postural imbalances, or for me, like I call it my cranky hip, like people who have like blockages in the hip or a different place which are affecting their movement and their posture, does this help?
Oh, absolutely. Like when it's down in the hips and everything, it's certainly insecurity. And you look at your life, when did I feel insecure? You felt insecure somewhere in your life from that tiger walking in front of you and grabbed all your money, or you know, it's an insecurity. of whatever story it could be. And that's where it's lived. But the emotion to that, that's where the problem is. But the emotion to that is always up in the heart. And that's where the flow comes, to push that emotion out that happened to you. That's what happens with the flow. It pushes from the lower bit and then up to the heart bit, where the emotion, the actual motion, is held.
And so for someone who may have a level of awareness of like, okay, well, yeah, I know that, you know, this is something that comes up for me all the time in my lessons and what that looks like. And so a lot of people will turn towards, say, meditation or mindfulness or affirmations to try and like help them through, you know, the limiting belief. I don't say that in inverted commas, but, you know, everyone's like, oh, you've got a limiting belief. And I'm like, oh, I just need to sometimes change the jargon, because then it just becomes like stuff that we talk about. Oh, you just have all these limiting beliefs. I'm like, dude, I'm not a textbook. And so how does some of this other work help with, say, spinal flow? Is it valuable, not valuable?
Well, we can change our affirmations as much as we like, and we can meditate, but we still got it stuck in the spine. You know, so it's, and I'm not saying meditation or that doesn't help. It absolutely 100% helps. And yoga is a wonderful, because it stretches very, very much. I'm more into yoga than meditation. Meditation is a great avoidance at times as well. Just watch the story about Buddha.
Meditation is a great avoidance.
I'm going to meditate. No, I don't have to think about this. Oh, yeah. But it's still working at the back of the mind. You know, just watch a movie on Netflix about Buddha. You know, he went along and he meditated. He said, I could meditate all day. It's not going to make me enlightened. I still got to do the work. I still got to look at the patterns. I still got to look at the statements. I still got to, you still got to look at everything.
I love that.
So it goes hand in hand. Absolutely.
I love that. It's like I was listening to a podcast about manifestation, and, you know, when everyone looked at The Secret, it was like, you know, all I have to do is, you know, visualize it and it will happen. Well, there's the law of manifestation, but there's also the law of action, right? And the law of reciprocity and all of those things that come into it. It's like you're just focusing on the one thing, but you forgot to put the other things with it that actually help.
Yeah, absolutely. And The Secret didn't tell the full truth. I feel.
It just talked about one law, which is great. You know, the law of action, but it didn't talk about the law of action. Or
that's exactly right. Yeah.
Quite valuable in the Great Awakening of letting people become aware. But I think you know, there's that part in it where, you know, the guy thought of an elephant and the elephant turned up in the lounge room. I was like, whoa, you know, if only it was that. You know, right? I wish. But it's this
it's the holistic of the whole lot of the wellness. You know, you have meditation, you have this in your diet, and blah, 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 blah. The whole lot comes together to find your total true self and awareness.
I love that. You know, I've been doing, I have, you know, I've been doing yoga for a long time. I've been going to the gym for a long time. And I went to a workshop several years ago with my friend Mike, who owns a yoga studio here and who's in this group. And we first did this thing called toe stretch, which is a really unpleasant stretch, right? It's not cool. I did it as part of a yin practice where you literally sit on the back of your toes for like 5 to 7 minutes. And it is like excruciating. It's a strong human. Anyway, I first did toe stretch 2011, right? It's 2021. I'm no better at toe stretch today than I was 10 years ago. In fact, I'm worse. Why?
Sometimes we're just not designed to do those things. Some cultures are, but we aren't. You know. Yeah.
With hip stretches, like I've been stretching these goddamn hips for 10 years. I've been doing yoga for like 15 years. My hips are no better.
Yeah. But what's stuck in the hips, you know, And that's where I come in. I can actually go back and have a look, and the things I can do is look at what comes up. And it comes up in my room, and I could say, oh, what happened at this age? Oh, yes.
So true, because people say, you know, if you go to yoga every day, you'll get better. If you go to, I've been practicing yoga for 15 years. My hips are worse now than they were before when I started.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, is that just, I joke, you know, when I was young, I had a left hip and a right hip, and now I've got a cranky hip and a good hip. You know?
So that's where my coaching comes in. I do coaching as well, and we go dive deep just to see, well, what is going on. So it's a whole package.
I have a couple of friends. I have actually several friends up here who are in dire need of a hip replacement. Speaking of hips, right? And so if you're here and you're watching, you know who you are. And so this one friend, she's tried a bunch of things. Now she's gone in the past 3 years from being like extremely vibrant and energetic. She's like the ever ready bunny. And now her pain is so debilitating that she can't walk. She can walk, but she limps and hobbles, and she's 49 and she looks beautiful, but this whole pain and the trauma of her hips is so painful that it's really affected every part of her life in a significant way. And so I've sent her to my osteo because my osteo is amazing. And, you know, we've sent her for treatments, and her son is a physio and wants her to do all these things, and nothing is really helping her. And so
you've got to dive deep. You've got to go right in. Yeah. You know, it's and it's mostly, this sounds funny and I shouldn't say it, but it's mostly anger. Anger comes up there. Anger.
Anger for
I'm
me?
Not angry. No, for whoever has troubles like that. I'm not angry. No, I'm not angry. No, you're not angry, are you? So it's kind of like a different emotions attack different parts of the body. Mm-hmm. And it's never been dealt with when we were younger. And it's, you know, when you start working deeply, it can kind of come up, and wow. And mostly bad hips, it's always insecurities. It's always, you know, which is really interesting to look. And I look at the chakras, and then different emotions live in different chakras, and we call them the gateways in spinal flow. So when you look at the different gateways, you can see, oh, what's going on in the body, and then what emotion is attached to it, and then, mm-hmm.
I love it. So now, because I feel like I've just been talking about hips and myself and like everything else that relates to hips. Like, what are some of the common things that you see in people? Like, because I know when I was in the health and fitness industry, I would see people walking, like I do a lot of gait assessments. So I'd see people walking or sitting and be like, oh my goodness, you're poor, blah, or whatever. How do you, like, do you see people as, how do I say this without it being weird? Do you see, when you look at people, do you feel into how they're showing up in their physicality? So I know that you go to a lot of events and you work with a lot of people. And so, like, if you're seeing people in a room and you can see their physical trauma because it's so apparent to you, how do you manage, like, seeing that kind of physical trauma in people?
Well, everybody has their journey on this earth. Everybody came down to experience something. Mm-hmm. And they've asked for this to happen. I know this is hard to believe, but you actually asked, I want to experience this in this particular lifetime. This is my belief. And so when you see people going through a lot of, you know, stress and things in their life, they actually ask for it to come down to experience. And they can come through this either easy or go through coming backwards. It's so you've got to allow everybody to have their own experience and just help them along the way. So you get very detached but attached, if that makes sense. So you have the total I have the total understanding of what's going on and what's happening in their body, and I can see it when somebody's walking towards me. I can blah 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 blah. But you know, I still got to allow that's what they're going through. That's what they have to experience.
Beautiful wisdom, Wendy. Yeah. One of the things that, two questions. Deb has asked a question. But I'll stay in this one for the moment, because you talked about, we're asking for the lesson, right? That when we come down and we're having this human experience in this realm, obviously in a bigger level, your belief is that we've asked for this experience because we've asked to transcend through this lesson. Now, a lot of people will be like not so okay with that. It's like, I did not ask for my husband to be an asshole. I did not ask for that accident to happen. I did not ask for my child to be ill. So that's the reaction from people. I didn't ask for this.
Yep.
I can see it. I can hear it in people, right?
Yep.
How do you handle that?
Well, I don't see them very much.
Really?
No, I don't actually see them very much, because I trust the universe 100% that who I see is meant to be here.
I love that.
So if a wife drags her husband in who doesn't really want to come, you talk totally different language. So, and I mostly do Bowen therapy on them, because that feels nice. But if you start on explaining something like spinal flow, they'll think this is really quacky, and they're not aware enough to. And I'm not making a judgment. Everybody's at their own stage, but that's where I bring in the Bowen therapy, and then I think that's a great treatment. And the wife's happy, and the husband's happy, and you think, oh, that was pretty good.
I love it. I love it. And I think there's that space, and we've talked about this in the messaging, right? And it's a parallel about that level of readiness, when you're treating someone for Bowen because they don't have necessarily the level of readiness for spinal flow, or someone brings someone into you, but they have an awareness but not a level of readiness, and how you respond to that person is different.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
As Deb has asked, what is the emotion attached to the throat chakra?
It's not speaking up. Something might have happened when she was younger, and you just can't speak up. And that's where a lot of women have this. It's really, and it's just up in here. You can feel it. And because I just couldn't, because we're too young. We didn't know how to speak up. And we trusted everybody around us. And that's just the way it is. If we trust mothers, fathers, school teachers, but we couldn't actually stand up and say what we wanted to say. And when we inside we're actually screaming, listen to me, listen to me. Oh my God, I want to say something, but they're not listening. So we build this up, the blockage gets blocked off. So that's why I recommend people to go and climb up on the mountain and go and scream. Go and yell, scream. Bring it up and out, write it down. It's a matter of just bringing it out, singing. Turn the music on loud, blast it up, go for a dance, and just at the top of your voice, it opens it all up.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah, and it's actually at the lights, when you pull up the car and you've got the lights on, and just turn the music up and start singing. It starts to unblock. And it's all because we couldn't speak up when we wanted to. No, I'm too dumb. I'm too silly. We have that statement that, no, I can't do that. I can't, and that's where my coaching comes in, to find their statement. And then that unreleases, and then everything else just, I can speak.
I think this happens a lot for women, right? Particularly women.
A lot.
Not generationally, but I know that, my father used to say, little girls should be seen and not heard. Children should be seen and not heard. A woman should, what did my dad say? He was joking, but not joking, generational. He said a girl should look like a girl, act like a lady, think like a man, and work like a dog.
That's yeah, and that's what I'm cleaning up in people at the moment. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So women are told that they have to work harder if they want to compete in the marketplace. We're often told to hide our emotions, that we're so emotional, so we go into a corporate or a work environment and we're squashing our emotions because we're trying to play in the playing field as men or as equal, without letting our femininity come through. Yep. We're also, in my instance, I know that mum, I was often told to, and my father as well, don't make waves, right? Don't rock the boat, don't make waves, don't upset them, keep the peace. Like all of those things I was taught.
Yeah, I was told, you made your bed, you lie in it.
Oh, great.
So I did for a long, 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 long time.
Good.
And then when I woke up, I just thought, this is ridiculous. This is stupid. And that was one statement. You know, look at all those statements you've just said. It stops us. It blocks us. And where is that living? It's always living in the spine somewhere. Every statement.
Yeah. Because even now I pull my mum up on it and she's like, oh, well, and I'm like, like, you know, like these are the things that come up for me because these are the things that you, don't blame her, sorry, mum. Like, it's like, these are the things you told me. You've told me my whole life.
But who told her? She's only doing what she was told. Yeah. And then we're doing the same thing to our kids.
Well, the buck stops here. I've got no kids to torture.
Yeah. So what happens with that cleaning up our little statements that were told to us and the emotion to those statements? You know, if you dive in deep, you talk about your mother a lot about the different statements. Where is that emotion living in you?
My hips.
There's an emotion in your hips. There you are.
Damn them. Those things move.
Exactly. So we go looking for the emotion, because what you just said about your mother is just a story, but the emotion to that story is living in your hips. That's what spinal flow cleans it out. That's where coaching comes in, because we find the statement and then we track it down. What is the emotion to that statement? Now let's have a little look in the body and where's that living? So it's kind of like a 3-step process.
Like the 3-step plan.
Yeah.
And so if someone wanted to connect with you around, you know, getting some support in this space, particularly, you know, if you're in Southeast Queensland, they can see you live. How would they go ahead and do that?
Well, I'm on Facebook everywhere, and I've got the website. And so, yeah, that's the way to track me down. So it's, the whole lot's in there.
We'll drop your links in, because it's Friendly Friday today, right? So we'll drop your links so everyone can follow you there.
Beautiful.
And is there anything that's sitting there for you that you feel drawn to share with the group before we finish up today?
Yeah, start looking at your emotion, because there's mostly women on this group. Is start looking at your emotions. What emotion? You've got a sore bit, like we'll pick on you. You've got your sore hips. And what emotion's coming up when you actually tune into your hips? Start writing, get a notebook and start writing down your different emotions that, you know, you got some anger there, you got freaking ruddy, you know, you got this. So I walk around with a notebook all the time. And if I have something going on in my body, I track it back to an emotion. And where is that living? And then where is that living in the body? And then there's a whole story in there, from our body to the emotions to how we're running our whole life. So it's, yeah, just get a book and just start writing different things down. I've got a headache. Now, why have you got a headache? Oh my God, I'm feeling this. You know, just go through all the emotions of everything. And it's a whole story in there, and your life starts to change. Rather than, oh my God, I've got a headache, I've got to take some pills, I've got to blah, 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 blah. No, actually, now where did that come from? Who pissed me off? Or, you know, there's so many, you know, I should have gone to bed earlier. Or I ate that food and I shouldn't have. Well, why did you eat that food? It's really starting to get open up and being aware. Just being aware of everything that's inside of you and what's around you. And there's no judgment here. It's just jotting it down and start getting some aha moments.
Cool. You're such a beautiful lady. I'm so grateful for you spending time with us, right, and sharing this. I know that a lot of people have seen you in the group but actually don't necessarily know the depth of your knowledge and your passion and your skill in this space. So now they do.
I don't normally know until somebody like you pulls it out. So thank you very, very much. It's been an honor being here. Thank you.
The honor is all mine, as always. So I appreciate you. I can't wait to see you. I'll be down on the Gold Coast in a couple of weeks, so let's catch up.
Absolutely. I'd love to. Yeah. Get you on my table.
Oh, yes. Deal. I'm the lucky one.
You are. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
Bye-bye.
Bye.